This video here is about the Turkish getup and how it can be used like loaded yoga. I like to describe the Turkish getup as a rock between a rock and a hard place. So the rock being the weight. Today we're going to use a 30-pound kettlebell, and the hard place, even though this is padded, being the ground. So what you have is two objects, one that is you're resting on, it's not going anywhere, and then you've got this weight, which is the rock. So the magic happens between those two things. These two things by themselves, they just sit there, walk away, you come back, there they are. Once you pick this thing up and move it, now I have to manage what's happening between these two things. I'm holding this, I'm manipulating it, and I have this thing that's holding me up, right? Holding everything up. So being aware and taking your time. What I like about yoga, first off, when I discovered yoga, it was because of necessity. I was 17 years old and I just had a severe injury to my left shoulder, rotator cuff injury. It took about 6 months before I could use my arm again. And fast forward to now, and I've been, I basically learned and taught my own way out of this mess later in life. But basically what happened was that created, asymmetries are going to develop in your body throughout your life, imbalances. That's what yoga is great for, restoring that, being back in your body, learning to use your breath to unlock freedom and control in your body, and getting very connected to your body. And so I had a big, this massive event happen that sent a ripple effect through the way I moved. So basically the way to look at it is you have four corners of your core, four quadrants you could call it. You've got the upper left, upper right, lower left. Okay, so basically if you look at it anatomically, you could say your left shoulder, as much as you think of a shoulder here and what it does for the arm, the shoulder, when you're moving around, walking, if I'm lifting something with this shoulder, I can recruit this shoulder to help balance that out through the core. These other three corners of the core need to help support whatever I'm doing with this arm. If I'm swimming or paddling or paddling a surfboard or whatnot, if you're indicating all these things, running, the arm swing when we run, it helps engage the upper body here to create a counter rotation to what's happening in the lower body. So all of these things are in fundamental movement. And when I had this injury and I had 6 months without using this shoulder, basically my body had disconnected itself from the use of this shoulder because it needed time to heal. It sat there. And so I went about my very busy 17-year-old life. I could still grab and carry things, I just couldn't get it past 3 inches from my body. And so the little engagement I was doing wasn't through the big stuff, right? Through it was very, very limited. So my body adapted over 6 months how to move differently. And that adaptation was a thing that lingered. Even though this shoulder was healed and I started doing things with it again, I could raise it overhead and whatnot. So what wasn't taught to me at the time was that I needed to reboot the system. I needed to get my shoulder to be re-engaged with the rest of my body, and my body to be re-engaged with the shoulder, my core, let's say. And so basically, when I found yoga was my way out of pain because I had developed some asymmetries, tightness in my neck, my upper back, because of the imbalance in the upper body. And but yoga, the benefit, thankful that I got to experience that, was I learned all about breathing. I discovered how I could use breathing and different postures and awareness to increase my ability to move better, ranges of motion, relieve tension and tightness, dump tension. And it was pretty amazing. Like I would walk out of yoga class and I wanted to just sprint to my car. I felt like I could just, you know, I was just limitless, you know. And then the way that my body would move, that would return. So then I go to yoga reset, my body would move and break itself down, and all these imbalances would build up and compile. So fast forward to now, after really learning the Turkish get-up, my second time around injuring the shoulder, I was a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and definitely fed up with the situation. And so I went out and I learned, I went and got certified as a personal trainer, and I was diving into everything I could get my hands on. I found functional movement systems, which is functional training at its core with corrective exercises. And they were so big on these kettlebells. And I was like, wow, this is not what I expected, right? So since then I've learned from other organizations like Strong First, and I really follow these core fundamentals. There's a lot of stuff out there with kettlebell training in gyms, on Instagram, and all over the place that is a lot of cool show. Some of it could be good for you, maybe not, but really just like anything, the fundamentals are where it's at. So that's what I'm gonna go over today. And I just think there's so much potential for every single person that can get their hands on a chance to learn the Turkish get-up and learn to slowly add weight to it. You can start with just body weight first, and that'll be more in the yoga realm. Add a little bit of weight, you start to manage your yoga between a rock and a hard place. So this guy's 30 pounds. I'm gonna just go over a demonstration. And I'll try to walk through it and explain what's going on as I do it. So as always with the kettlebell, safety first. This is a cannonball with a handle on it. It's a big piece of iron. Okay, we don't want this thing to hurt us. So if I lay here and I pull my shoulder, I can yank something. Bad idea, that's weak. Bring this hand over, the top hand over the bottom hand has the weight, it's gonna keep the weight. I bring my body to the weight, then bring the weight to my body, and then roll back over, press away with two hands, use that support system, use the whole body. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go through some of the basic, this is a starting position to get up. If you wanna familiarize yourself with the get up in its entirety, I've got videos on that as well. Check those out on my YouTube channel. But this one, I'm just gonna start from the basic, and I'm gonna get creative with it. So right now what we've established is I am posturing between the rock and the hard place. I can sit here and feel if my shoulder's tight. One way to check that is by rotating my arm. Okay, the weight is offset, it's gonna rotate. So I'm creating some mobility, creating this spiraling motion, make sure my biceps moving, not just my forearm, but my whole arm inside the joint. And I'm lengthening and spiraling. Okay, if that feels strong and stable and free to move without restriction, and I don't feel my neck tensing up, there's no good reason for my neck to tense up here because my head is on the ground, then that's a good thing. I'm checking in there. Okay, I would do the same thing on the other side. From here, I'm gonna also check the stability, and you can just spend a little time here and breathe. I like it through the nose, out through the mouth. Feel your core able to breathe, allow you to breathe, be engaged but not tight. I'm gonna bring this arm overhead. That gives me a good overhead position for my shoulder. I'm gonna push off this. Instead of going up into the get up, I'm gonna sort of roll onto my side in something I like to call the tree trunk. Get that over there. I bring my knee across slowly, and I wanna be able to balance. So I came over more balanced the first time. So being very stable here, finding my shoulder blades, my bottom shoulder blade and my top shoulder blade are working together in a straight line from this weight between the rock and the hard place. The hard place is actually on my left shoulder, and the rock is in through my right shoulder and arm. So I'm gonna link those up, engage them, slowly swing that lower body weight over, extend my base down here with this left leg, and now I can be aware of how long my spine is, my head is relaxed here, my arm, I've got a headrest, my neck's not involved, and again, check in with some rotations. Okay, breathing deeply. If If you find something tight, reach and rotate through it. Get the breathing to exhale and dump tension. Inhale. Feel the breath come into your core. Feel the expansion of your ribs, lengthening and reaching your arm. Exhale, dump tension. I've got lots of time under tension here to get comfortable, relax, redistribute the tension into more stable areas so I can relax unnecessary muscles that might get overly tight. From here, another position is to drop this elbow back. Okay, that's going to open up my ribs a little bit and create a little bit of rotation down my trunk here. So being able to do this, breathe into that. If I have a little tightness through the ribs here, through the shoulder, I may not go that far. I may just go to here. A little bit of rotation here too can help open that up. Drive that back through. I can bring my pelvis to the floor. And now my arm is reaching behind me. Again, stable, breathing, rotating, connected between that rock and a hard place. I'm gonna roll on back. I'm still time under tension. If I get tired, I'm gonna actually lower this weight, 2 hands. I'm gonna use the little halo move there. Switch legs, press this one up. This one got a little fatigued, there's a little time under tension, so instead of pushing farther, I could do that, but I want to stay relaxed. I want to work on that relaxed strength, that breathing where my body's stabilizing automatically. I can move freely with control in as relaxed a state as possible. And that creates a different layer or depth of strength. That creates the kind of strength where you can relax and not over engage with what you're doing. Over engaging is easy to do, and there's a time and a place for it. From here, I'm going to roll on this side and take your time and be aware. Be aware of the differences. This side, not quite as stable. This is my left side, been injured twice. It's my non-dominant arm. Lots of reasons for this side to feel a little bit less connected. That's fine. I'll spend a little bit more time with this side, do some rotations, challenge my shoulder blade and my core to stabilize the tree trunk with the root system in the core. You can look up my tree trunk video as well. Can explain this a little bit more, but the reason I'm going through this is because it's just such an obvious place on the ground. You've got a lot of your body on the ground on the hard place, and you can start to move this rock and just introduce yourself to maybe some of the asymmetries or allow this side to wake up a little bit more. Just sitting here, rotating, breathing. I can be aware of my grip. I can be aware of my shoulder kind of sinking deeper into the core. And as I do that, I find a stronger linkage of muscles just by breathing, moving, and taking the time to discover that. So now I have a different awareness on this side. From here on out, the rest of the movement I do with this arm is going to be within that range. I'm going to use that shoulder. My shoulder's kind of away from the body, my shoulder blade. I let it sink or pack down into the body. And now when I bring this down, I'm actually going to pull. So I'm bracing, I'm gripping my weight into my core, and I'm pulling this weight. Instead of lowering my shoulder, I'm pulling it in with my core. And that gives me a nice opening there. A couple of breaths. You can breathe through the mouth, through the nose. It's up to you. There's a lot of controversy on that one. In through the nose, out through the mouth is what most people go for. What I like in through the nose is it restricts your airflow, so it really allows you to move from the diaphragm and create that intra-abdominal pressure and that tension in your body. Drive that through. Again, this one here. Expand my base. A little bit of rotation there, letting the root system sink into the body. Okay, a little fatigued on this side. I'm going to switch it around. Still haven't put the weight down, so time under tension between that rock and a hard place. My body had to manage the weight the whole time. And over time, you really, as the weight gets lighter, you get stronger. Whether you build more muscle or not, doesn't matter. You're linking the muscles you have work with what you got. It's more important that you have strong linkage. It's better to be lighter, faster, stronger. You know, if you need the weight for something else that you're doing, then do that. But for most of us, it's better to link the muscles more appropriately than to build bigger muscle to compensate for bad linkage, okay? So here, I'm gonna go into that get up. There's a weight shift. The weight shift doesn't start here. I'm not doing a crunch. The weight shift starts here, my heel. I drive. I'm kind of bridging up. I load up that glute. Now my glute is engaged in my core into my shoulder blade, and it's preloaded. And this side over here, the left side, this is my base. Be aware of where the hard place is. The rock is you're gonna wedge yourself between the rock and the hard place. So I'm not gonna just think about punching that rock to the ceiling. I'm gonna think about driving into the hard place to wedge myself between the rock and the hard place. So planting this into the hard place, planting this side with my shoulder blade, which will become my elbow, and even this side is gonna lengthen. My left heel is gonna lengthen, engage my glute, and load up my hip. So I'm gonna end up sitting on my hip eventually as well. So bracing the core, big breath in. Whoop, lost it. Coming back down. That's what we wanted, okay? That's another brilliant thing too. I'm not afraid to make mistakes on these videos. That is a sign of needing another rep. That's what I like to do at the get up. You had a bad rep, go back down that step, do it again. Get it right. Get your body to engage, move from the core is night and day. The first one, my body fell back and my leg came up. The second one, I loaded into the floor a little bit more with my left hip and used my core to stack. So I'm stacking myself stacking my joints and my bones between the rock and the hard place. From here, spend a little time, again, rotate. I can rotate my head and neck, make sure I'm not overloading the neck, make sure that all the tension is loaded where it should be. I'm dropping my shoulder blades down and in, I'm bracing, I'm moving. So I've got that ability to move into these poses and open things up. Open up the hips, open up the shoulder, load the core, expand the spine. Okay, get taller and longer. All the while I have to manage that weight and get open and free where I want to, but not overloading all my joints, loose and free where I want to, keep that high level of mobility and freedom with all the control in the world. Okay, I'm gonna lower back down. Again, time under tension. You can go into as much fatigue as you want, but why not switch sides? 2 hands going up. I didn't like that one. Didn't use my breath. Gotta demonstrate perfectly for these videos, right? So that's how it goes. Some days you forget or you make a little mistake, fix it, correct it. You got the moment right there, doesn't matter. Get it right, move on. Basically bracing here. I've got this nice posture. I can feel my posture. The breathing helps me feel the inner core muscles. I can feel the relaxation in any place that I don't need. Start to get aware, be aware of your building blocks for this posture. And you know, if I bring my sternum out, my shoulder blades drop down. If I push this ground down, it drives into the side of my body down here. If I lengthen this heel, it kind of brings my pelvis forward. If I open this hip and plant this foot, I really engage my glutes and kind of drive open to my hips. And this shoulder, being up high in my neck, lower it down, anti-shrug, pull it into the body with the core muscles, lengthen the arm, and use your base. I can feel all the power in my core. My shoulder is free to move, my arm feels light, and that's where the weight is distributed. Down on the floor, down in my core, my arm and shoulder are doing less work. So less stiffness up there, more freedom. Lowering back down, take it there, okay? I'm gonna switch sides for this next one. And go up in a couple different more moves. So you get the idea there of how you can take time under tension, redistribute your body. That's the yoga part. It's kind of like, where do you need to be connected and where do you need to be more free, and just taking the breath in there to reassess and reset everything. From here, driving up. There was a good one, right? From here, this is the half get up. But again, look at all this opening here. Open hips, driving through, loaded on this shoulder, rotating arm and neck, spend a little time in there. And then I'm gonna lower back down. Okay, so that can go all the way up. The get up goes all the way to a standing. Again, you can check out some of those get up videos, but as far as a demonstration of how you can approach your get up in a yoga-like fashion. In yoga, you go over repetition. I'm not a yoga instructor, so I won't give you all the proper terminology or anything like that, but I do know that you go through the sequence multiple times. Each time you go a little deeper, a little better. You learn a little bit more. So you can do one training session with one kettlebell and switch off both sides and just, attack the weakest link. I'll spend more time on the side that needs it, not because I want to go deeper into fatigue, but maybe more reps, more focus, keep visiting it, and get better so that you can create balance by bringing up the weaker side, the weaker link, the parts of you that don't move as well. Get those parts to come up and create more balance. Once you've established balance, you have a better foundation for everything you do. So I'm always searching for balance. Everything I do outside of my training here is a lot of it's creating imbalance. It's just the nature of the activity, the sport, the training, the whether it's work, play, otherwise, right? A lot of things create imbalance. We sleep on one side, all kinds of things, right? But in my training, I at least need to strive for balance. And if I do that, I can keep myself from straying too far off into imbalance. And that's when the compensations hit you hard and heavy. Trust me, take it from me. So if you're watching this video, you're probably on that page too. But anyway, just want to give that demonstration. Please like, share, comments are great. I'd love to look in the comments and see if there's anything that you'd like to hear that I haven't come up with in this video, even on this subject here or another subject. Doesn't matter. Feel free to do it. I'll read it, and if I find a good comment that I think is something I can really build off of, or I'll try to address, then more videos to come. So that's the idea. Yoga with weights, loaded yoga, Turkish get up. Again, like, share, subscribe. Thanks again for watching. I hope you got something out of this. Have a great day.